So, my mother was a pygmy. Yes, my mother was a pygmy. I'm the youngest of three girls, and each of us had a different relationship with my mom. We are spread apart in ages. My mom had me when she was 32. And my mom was married at the time. My mom divorced my dad she left when I was 3, and within a year or two she divorced him. So me and the middle sister stayed with my mom. The oldest sister went to stay with my dad. Um, I was a daddy's girl. I was very close with my dad, so I didn't quite understand everything that was going on. But of course, as I got a little older, I started remembering some of the things that I've seen, and they started to make sense to me. Long story short, my mom loved my dad. My dad loved her, but my dad had some alcohol issues and some drug issues, and he was a stay-at-home dad. My mom worked. She took care of the bills. Um, I'll get into a different video maybe about my dad, my relationship with my father. But as far as my mom, when she did leave, she left because she was in an abusive situation. You know, my father was not happy with how his life was going. He used to cheat on her, and they used to get into fights. So eventually she left because she got tired of the abusive relationship. But she ended up in a series of relationships that were long term. Nonetheless, they were toxic. And I've witnessed, as a child, I witnessed my mom being abused, like not seeing it physically, but I would be downstairs where her and the boyfriend was abusing her upstairs. And then I would see bruises on my mother. Nonetheless, she stayed. Eventually, she left him and then had another boyfriend or two after that. And this is all throughout like middle school, high school. By the time I was in high school, she had started a relationship with a guy. I just did not, I didn't get good vibes from him, right? And again, I'm in high school. So at this point, I'm around 12, well, not 12, but I was 13, 14. And at that time, um, at that time, uh, he made a comment that let me know I needed to leave. And there were other things that happened that the comment he made was, she don't pay no bills around here. She don't lock no doors. She don't pay no bills around here. But the only door that was being locked at that time was the bathroom and my bedroom when I went to sleep, or when I was just in my room studying or talking on the phone with my friends. There's no need for me to have an unlocked door when there's a man in the house that I don't trust. See, I've always been a spiritually in tune woman, spiritually in tune child, girl, what have you. And so when something didn't sit right with me, the times I didn't listen to it, I paid for it. So I learned very early on to listen to that intuition, to listen to that thing inside of me that said, take this person for who they showing you they are. Don't assume the best of them unless that's what you see. I don't care what they say, but look at what they do. So I ended up leaving home around 14 because I was essentially being neglected in my home. You know, my mom had 2 jobs. She made sure the bills were paid, but there were certain things at home that I didn't have. I had to learn how to be a survivor. I did hair, nails, or anything else to make sure I had money in my pocket before I actually started working. I started working young. I think around 14 or 15 I was working. Nonetheless, the things that I saw from my mother, and the fact that she couldn't protect herself, let me know that she was not going to be in a position to protect me. So at the age of 14, I left home. I wasn't put out. My mother did not put me out. I left. Now, you might question yourself, how would a 14-year-old girl leave home? Well, again, I mentioned my sisters and I were spread apart in age. So the middle sister, she and I were still living with my mom, and she had gotten her an apartment with her son. And so I moved in. I just picked up one day and moved in with my sister. And when my mom got home from work, she noticed the closet was empty. All of my stuff was gone. And I took a radio I had in my room. She came to my sister's house to get the radio. I assume she came to get the radio because her boyfriend told her to. Because, you know, she don't just take stuff from out here. She don't own that. You know, and whatever this man told her to do, she did. I'm talking, there were times when my mom did not give my sister child support. She did not give my sister custody. And of course, my sister couldn't afford to take care of me. So again, I'm forced to be an adult at a young age. There's a lot of traumas and things that I went through. Neglect was not the only one. There were other things that I'm not going to speak about in this video right now. Possibly I'll make another video later. But there are certain traumas that children go through when they see their mother being abused, and when they see their mother not having enough strength to make sure that she can get out of a bad situation and take care of herself. The mother in the scenario needs to have a level head. She needs to be able to keep herself safe so she can instill a sense of safety in her children. So for a long time, I was upset with my mom. Even once I moved out, lived with my sister, and became grown and got my own apartment, I did come back to live with my mom twice after I initially left. And each time it was very short-lived. When I came back the second time, I think I was the first time I was 16, her boyfriend told her I should be paying rent, so they were charging me $50 a week to stay in my mom's house, whom had custody of me. And she allowed it. You know, there's certain things that she allowed. What I learned when I got older was that my mom had certain traumas, not just from the relationship she was in, but probably from her childhood. But see, women in that generation didn't talk about anything. They didn't talk about the traumas they held. They kept it close to their chest. And I even learned that her sisters endured trauma. So my mind started thinking, what type of stuff happened in their home? I'll digress from that for a minute because I want to get back to the fact that give me a second to get my thoughts together. I want to get back to the fact that I wanted to touch on the fact that as a young woman, every young woman you need both parents, but most importantly, as a young woman, you really need your mom. So even though my mother did these things, and I recognized that there was something going on with her that she wasn't equipped to handle. So as I became a young adult, got my own apartment, and started becoming even more responsible than I already was, I didn't have much of a childhood because I was forced at 11 and 12 and 13 years old to become an adult due to the circumstances I was around, you know. So, and at that time, I was the only child in the household because my other sisters were grown already. So, when I became an adult, I still struggled with not having my mother there. We lived in the same city. I lived on the same street for 9 years. My mother maybe came to see me 2 or 3 times during that 9 years. And in my early 20s, I decided to go to therapy. When I went to therapy, my therapist pointed out that I was trying to have a relationship with my mother that she was not interested in having with me. And I think intuitively I knew that. I just didn't want to accept it because who wouldn't want the child that they had? She brought me into this world. She birthed me. She breastfed me. Why wouldn't you want to have a relationship with me? But I had to accept it. And therapy helped me work through those things. But my therapist also said, you're going to have to cut her off. When I actually cut my mom off was the beginning of my healing. Being able to realize that the traumas that my mother had, she was essentially passing down to me and correcting my behaviors and trying to continue a relationship with a person that was not interested in me. I then started looking at my behaviors that I was having toward men and the type of relationships I was considering with men. I was in an on-again, off-again relationship with a man for 10 years. I think I started... that's going to end up being another whole video, but I was in an on-again, off-again relationship with a guy for about 10 years. I started seeing him around 16, 17, and eventually I let the relationship go. But the thing is, I never centered that relationship in my life to begin with because I grew up around men. By living with my sister, I had become prepared for dealing with men. I have to put that part in another video.